it was there all along. You missed it. We've just finished.
So just put snooze you lose.
Tell them to start laying some bits down, and then they can hassle us for the stream.
You want to come at us for our timekeeping? You better spend some bits.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of System Link. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mike Hazelton from the Xbox Guide. Mike, how are you doing on this fine evening?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, doing good. Just wrestling with some Streamlabs. Obviously, we're a bit of a later start tonight. some fun times, some hot mics going on, some like scene transitions going crazy. So, but should all be sorted now. Hopefully, folks in chat, we are looking and sounding all good. We've got a couple of bits to talk about tonight. We've picked a nice lean system link for you this evening with some specific things we want to cover. We're going to kick off, first of all, looking at Concord, obviously now out in the wild. And the big news, I think, from this had been that the Steam numbers were, sub 1,000 players at its all-time peak, which is, for a first-party PC release, is dismal on Steam. I've seen reports since then that on the PlayStation Store that it's done much better on PS5. I think it had already come into the top 10 for PS5 specifically, and it's cross-play too, so there's obviously going to be support then for those PC players. They're able to still find matches. But in terms of it being a PC release, it's night and day compared to what they had with Helldivers 2 earlier this year, which was just a runaway success. I suppose until we sort of see, like, a month from now, we won't really know necessarily quite how that split has played out and the impact that it's had. It's likely that those Steam numbers aren't going to go up particularly much now from here.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so.
Which is really, really tricky position for Sony to be in. We've seen them pivot this generation with sort of the safer sequels, and then the sort of, well, a lot of these games are still either CG trailers or well in development, or in fact, in the case of Deviation games, now don't exist. This pivot to live service titles, which was something that they mandated coming into the PS5 generation. I mean, do you think this is giving Sony some pause about their own strategy here? Or is it a case of, well, we know we've got Bungie cooking Marathon, we know we've still got Destiny in the back pocket that's multi-platform, Fair Games is still on the way. Is there hesitation from them now to go into this field, or is it a case of, well, this is our first effort, let's see how this plays out?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think they'll be regretting some of the push, because we already had the Naughty Dog one cancelled, Factions, wasn't it? We had that cancelled, which you would think would be likely to have been better than this, just given the pedigree of the studio, and then it's not like they've never made multiplayer components before, and I think they were working on Concord for 8 years, although obviously I doubt the budget was massive, but it's a lot of time to put into one game that then doesn't perform very well. You can see what they're thinking, because the top 10, it's full of games as a service games, and I'm sure Microsoft included want to try to capture that market, but it's generally full of a few games that have stood the test of time. There's not much new coming into that chart and breaking into it and staying there. So it's a risky strategy to think this relatively random developer, let's pick them and say make a games as a service game, heavily borrowing off existing games that are already in the charts, and let's hope they can compete.
Because this is the tough thing as well. If I'm putting myself in like a Sony executive headspace right now, I'm looking at those same charts and seeing that there are no PlayStation exclusives in there. There's not a single one of like the Horizon, Last of Us, God of War, and they've all, in Spider-Man, they've all sold incredibly well, critically acclaimed, and beloved by many, but none of their exclusives are in there. They're single-player exclusives. The rest they're all just third-party games, and they're sort of the kind of stalwarts that you'd expect. So them now trying to recognize that those particular games have found success and do something that leverages their first party in a different way, I do think on paper does make sense. And there isn't anything for me particularly wrong mechanically with Concord at all. I think it's just kind of what you'd alluded to there, which is that it is so similar to everything else that we've seen. It does lack... It's another one of these not free to play, but sort of you'd expect this to be a free to play hero shooter. It just happens to be a budget price release, which I think is actually... That's the smarter play they've done here, which is that if they were going to do it as a premium release, given the amount of time they've had this thing in development, a small studio, sure, but that's still a lot of wages. That's still a lot of production costs for that.
It's a difficult one, because I think the narrative that it's done badly because of the Steam numbers. We obviously don't know. I don't know where it is in the PlayStation chart. Like you say, if it's in the top 10, that's something. But if it had been free to play, it would have obviously done multiple thousands of people would be playing it on Steam just to try it out and see, is the criticism fair? I mean, it hasn't had a huge amount of criticism. It's people are just like, yeah, it's a bit safe, bland, maybe. Which I think as a free to play game, you would be willing to try. Like you and I, if it had come out on Xbox, we would have tried it. I think
for sure.
As a free to play game, we're not gonna spend money on it. And I guess that's the issue. It's interesting that Microsoft haven't tried to do this yet with anything like a free to play first party Microsoft multiplayer.
No, we're not.
Game.
We're not seeing that.
Halo Infinite, but it's not.
Yeah, we're seeing them. I think because of Game Pass, that's their way of doing that with Sea of Thieves and Grounded, because they're still full price releases and they have their sort of accessible version through the subservice. But you're right. There's not sort of in a very sort of targeted way that you'd have expected Concord to have done. You haven't seen that from Microsoft. You're right. I find it all very odd, this particular one, because there really isn't inherently anything wrong with the gameplay. I played the beta and had a good time with it. The pricing's clever. It's I guarantee they're going to recoup some of their investment within that, because we've seen that with Embark talking about the finals and how perhaps it's slightly underperforming. You need those battle passes to sell those cosmetics to do well, otherwise they're going to struggle because of the nature of the model. This, I think, has a great opportunity to capture those early adopters, which I think clearly have been more PlayStation. We've seen that just in the chart positions alone. We know that it's skewed more to the console. Unlike Helldivers 2, which apparently PC, it's blown up. That's the it's at the inverse. Yeah, which is really interesting.
To be fair, that was to give Sony credit. There's all this criticism that they shouldn't have gone for games as a service. And Helldivers was in the charts. It was in the top 10 for a long time. I'm not sure it still is. I think it is on PC potentially, but that has stood the test of time. I know it's second party, but they did a great job.
Yeah.
Funding that and giving it a focus in what's supposedly a lean year for PlayStation.
And the fact that, again, with that budget exactly the same price as Concord, they've then obviously been able to recoup those costs and then some, which is very, very smart. So Concord's positioned really nicely, I think, to maybe have a PlayStation Plus, like the monthly giveaway down the line, as opposed to putting it straight into their... I think you'd piss a lot of people off now if they sort of a month later put it into the PlayStation like extra. You'd have to give that some time, I think. Otherwise, people just won't buy your games at launch. They'll just wait if they know that there's a possibility of it being added later, as opposed to the expectation on Xbox, which is understood that day one those games are there for you, and that's why you're in the subservice or not, if you care about that. I think there is room for Concord to find a new sort of lease of life, as a bit like what Warner Brothers are doing with the Quidditch Harry Potter game that's coming out in September. That's actually launching. It's multi-platform. It's launching everywhere, digitally first and then physically later this year. But on PlayStation, it's going to be on PlayStation Plus monthly games for free, and launching elsewhere at the same time, much like Rocket League did when it first dropped, because that was, don't forget, a premium game when it first came out, and then it was a PlayStation Plus release before going free to play. So I think the arc of this, is fairly easy to predict. I think we see Concord being added in 2025 to some version of their subservice, whether it's the monthly giveaway just for a month, and then they continue charging for it, which I think would actually be quite clever. Get people in, get an injection of the player base, which might then encourage those secondary sales later on once it drops out of the month. Or they put it onto their subservice as an added value thing, and again, it has that added benefit of an injection of new players. But they're not, as far as I'm aware, they're not doing battle passes. They're not doing... The game isn't built around a free-to-play model. Everything that all the cosmetics and stuff you can earn by playing.
It's interesting because that potentially looked like a good consumer-centric decision. They're charging for the game, don't want to make you pay for battle passes and stuff. But then on the other hand, you think if it's launched quite soft, it also means the developers don't have an obligation to do loads of updates. I'm sure we'll get some updates, but if it's like the Steam number's 660 is the all-time peak, it's not going to go up, like you said. So the PC version the Steam version is basically dead, pretty close to being dead, and it's not even been out 2 weeks yet. So but unlike say Redfall, where they had the season pass that they sold ahead of time, and
Mhm.
they felt they had to, they started work on all the content for that. Um, I don't think they've got that same obligation, other than the people that bought the game will expect it to be patched and updated at least a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's a
Yeah,
nice position to be in from that point of view.
yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think if they, given the amount they've invested in it already and the time it's been in development, the model they've chosen, which is you buy the game and then anything that's added to the game is yours, there is that, that as a way of keeping it in the news cycle, as a way of sort of, backing up, say, a future inclusion in one of their subservices, either the monthly giveaway or extra or premium. By keeping that model and then having those updates later on down the line, it's a newsworthy addition if you're then putting it into a sub. So maybe
Yeah,
it is a very different pitch. I don't think it's too simplified, I think, to just go, well, this is trying to be a free to play game but isn't. I'd argue that fundamentally it was not released in this form as a premium product expecting it to be a free to play title. Just because there's no battle pass, there's no paid cosmetics, you buy the game, you get the game. They've gone for that sort of traditional model. They can see the numbers. They can see the how much competition there is in the free-to-play space. Otherwise, Helldivers 2 would have done the same thing. They would have released as a free-to-play game. Because why not, right? If that's your argument. But they very cleverly, I think, priced it as a budget release very sensibly, and they've done the same with Concord. So it's... Yeah.
Do you think that there's any tweaks they can make? It plays well enough from what I understand, but it's just not distinctive. Or is there some stuff they could do to, because they're like the finals that we talk about a lot and we're playing tonight, there's stuff they can do with that to increase player numbers and break into, try and compete with some of the top free to play games out there. Is there anything they can do with Concord to kind of
I
turn
don't
the
think
ship around?
Yeah, I don't think mechanically there is. I think it's the issue they have is, I think, that sort of that lack of its own identity. It does feel very sort of like an Overwatch Guardians of the Galaxy just in a blender. It's lacking that specificity to it, and that thing that's the real sort of the obvious thing you could point to be like, oh, you can only get that in Concord. That, I think, is something, as an identity problem they have that's fundamental. Gameplay mechanically wise, there isn't a problem with it. It's responsive. The characters feel balanced for the most part. I mean, there's a couple of weapons I think that have been tweaked since the beta, but that's what your beta's for. So I don't think there's anything on that side that's the issue. I think you pointed to the finals. There's a lot they could do with either partnering with other games, doing some crossover events, or trying to add in some more sort of like slightly wackier game modes as like sort of offshoots. There's all kinds of things they can do to keep that news cycle positive. Concord, I think, has really struggled with being unremarkable just as a pitch.
Which you can't say about the finals. Like,
no.
At its best, the finals is unlike anything else. Battlefield.
Yeah.
At the height of the series, kind of the same sort of moment.
But then, the finals as a free-to-play game has captured that Battlefield market at a time where Battlefield is arguably at its weakest. So for them to come in and that, you could point very clearly to the finals. The destruction tech's incredible. Cool, there you go. There's your hook in. Exactly. You play it, and there's a bunch of things you could absolutely improve with that, but that fundamentally is the hook. That's its identity, and Concord lacks that. To get it in the hands of more people, it's like it desperately needs to be a free-to-play game because of its lack of identity, but it has been fundamentally designed as a budget price premium release. So that it would be a case of we're introducing a battle pass now. We're introducing paid cosmetics now, and we're going free to play rather than just putting it in a subset. I think that's the only way you attempt to turn that around without simply just sticking to your guns. This is the game. All the updates are free. We'll be on a subservice in a year. Check in next summer and we'll be on PS Plus. I think that's the fork in the road they face now. I hope it doesn't discourage Sony from PC releases, because it's been lovely seeing them. Things like, having Last of Us Part 1 on there. Helldivers 2 obviously was their first day and date PC, PS5 release. We're seeing those walls come down so much, and I really, that's just good for us as consumers. It's going to make them more money, so everyone wins. It's going to make it less interesting for the console warriors to be talking about exclusivity, and especially with what Microsoft are doing. I think there's every sign that within the next decade they could become a third-party publisher. That'll be a whole system link in itself. But there is, I think, some fundamental things here with this that explain the apathy to Concord, which you've kind of touched on. And just going into chat here, Plugsocket mentioning, they did that with Fall Guys before Epic bought it and messed everything up. So they talked about how they changed the model of the game once another publisher got involved. The Battle Pass was always free. You got cosmetics and currency just from playing the game, and then they monetized it as a paid Battle Pass. So that's something that would be, I think, a tough pill for a lot of those players that have invested early doors, for it to then become free to play with the Battle Pass and paid cosmetics, and it's tough.
Yeah, you wonder if they could effectively reinvent the game after a year or 18 months or something, and kind of do a relaunch as the free to play game, but significantly different, so that it gets people back in to try it, to see what's changed and stuff. But like you say, they'd have to try to work on making it distinctive enough. I don't really know how they could do that.
I'm wondering if maybe it's the game modes too, that there's an element of that. They're just all very, very familiar. It's transport the thing, zone control. It's all what you'd expect from a hero shooter, and other hero shooters have done it first and better. So it's an uphill battle for Concord, I think. And the opposite of that, the complete sort of other side to this, is the absolute behemoth that is Black Myth Wukong, which has been destroying numbers on Steam charts, on PlayStation. It's been absolutely bonkers. One of the biggest surprises, I think, since Baldur's Gate 3. It's got that level of, we're taking over everything in terms of sentiment, in terms of sales and player engagement. I recall as well, I think I might have seen this on Eurogamer somewhere, so apologies if I'm making this up, but that Steam recently broke its own concurrent player count record, not just for Black Myth Wukong, but for just people logged into Steam. They, coinciding around this release, they broke their own concurrent player count record, which is insane. It was up in like up about 37 million, I think, online at the same time, which is unreal,
So it sold 10 million copies in 3 days.
Jesus, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Only on PlayStation. It's not even on Xbox. Not that would, but which beats Elden Ring, beats Harry Potter, which I think were the two recent biggest ones. I think it's beaten the Nintendo record, so it's right up there with the fastest selling games ever, which is a bit crazy. And it's reviewed relatively well, but there's technical issues which have been brought to light. But I think generally it's, when it was shown before, it's a Chinese game with a developer that people don't really know, but it looked incredible in the previews, which got a lot of people hyped, and I think a big portion of the player base is from China. But it's obviously managed to capture the hearts and minds of the Western audience as well. So they've done a really good job of kind of marrying those two things, which can be quite hard to do for Asian developers. And yeah, good to see. I think there's been a bit in the news as well about the Xbox version, kind of the bugs that there are in the PlayStation and PC version is kind of that's why the Xbox version is late, rather than any shady platformer stuff.
Any shady deals. But then I suppose, given its runaway success here, an Xbox version coming later can't hurt. That it will give it a chance to give it an even bigger boost, which is just remarkable. I mean, this kind of game, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, these games have been... I completely misspoke with Bloodborne. Malfunction. You tried to hide it. I could see you on the cusp of being shitty. These games have captured such a mainstream wide audience, just given their sales numbers and the fact that there's such positivity around them. So nice to see as well. I know you mentioned about the sort of the technical hiccups and stuff, and that stuff has been openly acknowledged, which is really good, because in a game like this, it can often, some of these things can get overlooked sometimes, perhaps a little bit of bias towards a particular genre. Plugsocket coming in there, we love Soulsborne. Interestingly, he's got some source to share here as well that I want to just go through. He says, Screen Rant, ranked Star Wars Outlaws. We're getting there. Save it. Higher than Black Myth. Wonder how much they got paid to do that. Well, reviews are subjective at the end of the day, but I have seen a couple of interesting ones. Like, I think IGN gave Concord the same score as Starfield, which I thought was really interesting. It's very difficult. Sometimes those comparisons can be very arbitrary because they just happen to score the same. I don't know if there was anyone going, we better make sure it gets the same as Starfield. I don't think there's a conspiracy to it, but it does. When you see this come up again and again, the Screen Rant thing that Plug Socket mentioned, I think it's okay to have that brief interlude about some things like this.
This is a bit of a tangent, but there's been a bit as well, especially on Xbox sites, which obviously I tend to be on, about how like when Redfall launched and bombed, although it had 6,000 as a peak, a Steam peak, the media were generally really taking advantage of how badly Redfall was doing and like making fun of it. Like, how can such a big studio make such a bad game? And I think it kind of lends itself to that because they are a big name, and it was kind of hyped up to be something that it wasn't. But on the other hand, you're getting the same publications then saying, "Oh, we need to just lay off Concord a bit,"
Right.
People need to give it a try. It's not a bad game. Redfall wasn't a bad game. It was like a 7. It wasn't terrible. In the same way that Concord definitely isn't terrible. I mean, Concord's probably a better game than Redfall was at launch.
No, but that's a fair point though, especially the virtue signaling of some of the support that's been put out there. Like, I've seen a lot of articles from various places that have variations on the theme of, why are we wishing games to fail? Why are we wishing they don't succeed? Yeah. And then I wasn't seeing that energy when Redfall was being released.
They literally shut the studio down.
Yeah.
I mean, people are saying, are they going to do this in this situation? But like, hopefully not. Hopefully they. It's always an interesting one. Were they asked to make this game? Were they asked to make a clone of another game, or was it they came to Sony and said, we want to do this?
Given the narrative elements that have been put into it, Concord strikes me as a game that was an assignment for them. I don't know that. Obviously, I have zero insider knowledge at all and would never pretend to, but that's what strikes me. Just that the way it was constructed, the narrative focus. This seems like Sony mandating something to one of their third-party teams, I think. Which
is similar to Redfall, because I think the feeling was that stuff was added to Redfall that doesn't
specifically
make sense.
Multiplayer, wasn't it? They were the reports, wasn't it? Is that they were making Arcane Austin, known for their single-player sim games, trying to shoehorn some multiplayer elements in when that wasn't the studio's expertise. Just looking here, just into the chat, just really briefly, Big Manny coming in mentioning how the indie Souls games have been doing really well. He mentions Lies of P and Another Crab's Treasure. Another Crab's Treasure I adore. I absolutely love that game. And that is another one, aesthetically very different, but it is a Souls game, essentially. Certainly mechanically. Also mentioning Plug Socket agreeing as well that Lies of P, which I haven't played, was apparently he thought it was an absolute banger.
Well, and it was a niche genre originally. People are like, it's too hardcore. People, the mainstream aren't going to get into it, and all of a sudden you've got them like breaking all sorts of records.
Yeah.
When they come out, so we've obviously had a few years of some indies getting on board, doing a really good job of making some competent Soulsborne games, and I think there's a danger now that we see it kind of explode, and you get like EA making them and Ubisoft making them, and all the big publishers are like, let's start doing that now, and all the game, like, we're going to get onto Outlaws, but is Ubisoft going to come up with a by the numbers formula for it, where Assassin's Creed,
which you could argue we're seeing from like free to play hero shooters. Like, there's a lot of that.
Exactly. They're way behind the cycle generally on this stuff. So.
Yeah, which it fascinates me too. Like, Warner Brothers putting out that statement after Suicide Squad completely bombed, and they were like, "We're going to double down on live service online games." And you go, well, "No, the last one you did that had a mega budget with an incredible studio did not pan out. Pivot away. Please listen to your audience. Look at the numbers. Suicide Squad has just evaporated, and that thing was supposed to be an absolute monster." So Big Manny mentioning, my dream game is a Souls-like that I wrote, because I know he's really getting into his writing at the moment, and that's very cool. Very, very interesting, the fact you've got Q cooking up a script there. Hopefully stick around with Burly Bird Media for a few years, and one day who knows, we'll be able to make our own. So just now switching gears, to another interesting nugget. I think this will be a rare moment where you and I perhaps have an opposing view on this. We have Avowed being confirmed to be 30 frames per second on console. And I've realized, even though I'm not a PC gamer by any stretch, I have a PC that's capable of playing games, but I'm a console gamer at heart. I definitely in my old age become a bit of a frame rate snob. I don't care about anything above 60 frames. I'm not one of those people that needs like 144 frames per second in my games to make my eyes bleed. But I do need, I always in a game switch to the performance mode if it offers some kind of, scaled down resolution, but 60 frames. And the caveat to that is when it's done well, when 30 frames is done well and it's smooth, which actually, interestingly, this extended trailer that you're showing me, I don't know whether they're showing this on PC or not, but
it was PC, yeah.
It was, okay, right, so not a fair point from me then, but when I've seen 30 frames per second done well, Last of Us Part 2 had a really good 30 frames per second mode when it was on PS4 originally. And Starfield, I thought Starfield's 30 frames was pretty smooth. Helped, I think, by id Tech, because I know id Software got involved with supporting that development. But I've also seen some horrible, choppy 30 frames per second quote-unquote quality modes, which just feel like they're just unplayable. Like Jedi Survivor's launch 30 frames per second mode was dreadful. Alan Wake 2 actually does a nice job with it. It's decent. But it's 60 frames per second is butter. So I had to go there.
So are you saying you will always play the performance mode? Or if the quality mode is smooth enough, then because it sounds like you'll always play the performance mode regardless.
Yes, I will. If you give me the choice, I will go performance. I want those smooth frame rates. If I don't have a choice, so like say for example, we just mentioned Redfall, right? So Redfall's 30 frames per second mode on console was awful for me. I really struggled with that.
Yeah,
so I played the
it was
PC.
bad for me, so that's saying something.
Yeah, and it was choppy. It was regularly going down into like 20-25 frames. Digital Foundry John over here. But I played the PC version to then with the unlocked frame rate, and I got it up to 1080p 60 on my PC, and it was lovely. It was just butter. Still a shit game, but it was butter. And that's where, yeah, but that's where I think, take something like Starfield actually. So Starfield at launch, I played that when it first came out. At 30 frames, it felt really smooth and was able to maintain the quality that they were shooting for. So if Avowed can do that, and I have no reason to believe that they couldn't, Obsidian are a great developer and they've got now a huge infrastructure behind them. The game looks great, by the way. I haven't actually watched this trailer, so just seeing this is
they did a gameplay demo at Gamescom.
Right.
This is kind of snippets from it because they had the developers like over the top of the gameplay for some of it. So this is just different bits of that
yeah
demo.
yeah.
But there's like an hour of gameplay you can watch on YouTube.
God damn, this it looks really good. Like it's come together so well.
Yeah, so I think this is when it was first announced. So from my perspective, I generally, as long as it's smooth 30, I don't care. If it's not smooth 30, then I would go performance mode. But if it's smooth 30, I would rather play most games in 30 and have better graphics. But the developer's justification for this was it's first person, so it's less of an issue. But Starfield is much slower paced first person. Like you're generally walking quite slowly. I mean, now they've got the vehicle in, it's a bit different, but obviously we've also got the performance mode now. But Avowed is, as well as having a third person option, I'm pretty sure that's still in there. The combat is a lot faster and there's more going on at once. And also when they first demoed it just didn't look that great. Visually it didn't look that great.
No, it didn't.
It looked like Outer Worlds.
But it looks like
my reaction was
yeah,
my reaction was kind of coloured by that. It's like, it's Avowed, it's basically the Outer Worlds graphically. But then you see the recent stuff visually and you wonder if, because originally it's been shown at 60 multiple times, and this is why people are a bit annoyed, because like you've been showing it at 60, it's going to launch at 30. You wonder if they have actually made a decision, or whenever it was after we saw the initial announcement, and they thought, people are feeding back that it doesn't look next gen enough, and they've added in a load of extra effects and some nice extras which makes it it really does stand out and is a really nice game visually now. Maybe that is a sacrifice that they've had to make for consoles.
Yeah, and that little asterisk there, the for consoles part, I think that's maybe the part I've struggled with again, which is that you're still gonna. It is. I don't know how much of this is an artistic choice, because you've got an uncapped frame rate on PC. If it was truly an artistic decision, surely you would maintain that decision regardless of the platform it's on. So that, for me, feels like they're going to have a performance mode, like Starfield did after its launch.
Yeah, the Starfield thing was stupid because they were literally like similar to Hellblade, but Hellblade made sense because they wanted the actual filmic FPS cap. Starfield, though, they were like, oh, it's a cinematic experience, so we don't care. This, though, I think the reason is more they wanted to push it visually rather than they want it to feel like a cinematic experience. Right. So I think if your PC can run it in like ultra settings at uncapped frame rate, then they're happy for you to do that. On console, I think they know that if it's uncapped or they go for 60, it's going to be up and down, and that's not what people generally want. I'm certainly get one soon after launch.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? Is that you've already delayed it to February. I think the 30 frames per second on console thing should have been announced a lot earlier, and then the February delay should have given them the chance to add a performance mode option in this.
Well, if you watch the interview, because someone just asked in an interview, what's the FPS? So it wasn't announced officially by Obsidian. It's since been clarified or confirmed. And in that interview, they weren't like, we've got one mode, it's 30. They were like, at the moment, it's it's 30 or higher, basically, is how it came across. So I'm hoping maybe they'll see the pushback and see if they can
get something in there.
Get it, and even if it's like, default it to quality mode, have a performance mode in there that's generally hits 60. Has a couple of areas in the game where it dips. Just let people make because you do that on PC, don't you? You make
all the time
choice for yourself,
and you like give people. I think that's where I'm coming from, is give people the option, and if you're going to just have it later anyway, we know it's coming, sort of thing. Like, we know it's inevitable. Just going back into the chat really briefly, James, good evening, good to see you, thanks for jumping in on YouTube as well, so the multi-stream is working, so that's good to see. Big Manny using the disco Burly Bird in the chat as well, which is so nice to see that emote. Plug Socket mentioning, if it's 30 frames on last gen, then fair enough, but a 30 game coming out now, we're seeing, I think the consoles right now are struggling with Unreal Engine 5. I think the current gen consoles, when they were released, relative to Unreal Engine 5's now becoming more widely adopted, I think there's been some really awkward timing there.
This is the problem as well, because you have games like Black Myth that look incredible.
Yeah.
And then I think you get developers, like, so they showed Avowed the first time, and we were like, this looks like a last-gen game, it doesn't look incredible. And so they felt pressure to push it, and they pushed it, and it can't hit 60, and now everyone's like, well, it's not a 60, so what do you want? Do you want, like, top level next gen graphics on console, or do you want smooth frame rates? The issue is on PlayStation, generally everything's 60, so I think it's an Xbox problem,
which doesn't help the optics of that, particularly when we've seen that with Redfall and Starfield now, and Avowed is the latest one. Hope, good evening, thank you for jumping into chat. James saying YouTube is my hole and my chosen dungeon. Well, that's good to know. I don't want to know about your hole, but that's thank you for sharing. GTA 6 guaranteed. I mean, you saying it'll be 30 frames per second. Will it though? Like, that thing's got to run on. Well, you'd expect a PS5 Pro, maybe another Xbox to be out by then. What that's going to look like on a Series S, I don't know whether that's going to be hitting 30 frames. We'll see. I
think it will just look bad.
It's going to just look like dirt.
Because Rockstar are pretty incredible at optimization. So,
Red Dead, right? Red Dead. Now there you go. There's a 30 frames per second game. Red Dead Redemption 2. That is a 30 frames per second game that runs like a dream. Can't fault that 30 frames per second mode, and it looks incredible. So my thing is always, if the performance mode is there, I'll go for it. If I've got the option of playing a quality mode that's smooth, I am there too. Like, that is fine. Plugsocket saying GTA 6 has to run on every console on future console under the sun for like 5 did. Yeah, because of the amount of re-releases we're inevitably going to get. Yeah, I think so. James saying it's been confirmed. You're right. I think it's been sort of, discussed that 30 frames per second is the target. I just mean in actuality, what is that actually going to look like in the real world when that game finally comes out, and how well or not that thing will look on certain platforms. Something I've seen is actually, we're about to segue into Star Wars Outlaws anyway, but this kind of relates to Avowed too, is one thing I hope Obsidian add is a VRR, variable refresh rate mode, which I'm seeing a lot more of these 40 frames per second modes being added to certain games if you have a VRR display. And it apparently is the way they do it is that they run the graphical settings of the 30 frames per second quality mode, but they access the variable refresh rate support of these these high-end monitors and TVs to give the frame rate that little extra boost. And that to me is a very, very good solution. I've seen that Starfield supports that on Series X and S, mostly from the big first-party titles that are getting into all the huge publishers like Ubisoft. But I think we're going to see, as that technology becomes a bit more widely adopted, and we see that in more mainstream monitors and televisions, that's something I would like, to forget 3D. There was a whole thing in the PS3 era when everything was supposed to be a 3D TV. I'd rather VRR become the standard thing. I think that's a great idea that will allow basically the issue I've got to be eliminated, that you can then choose to have the quality of the graphics and the smoothness of the gameplay by accessing that 40 frames per second option if your TV or monitor supports it. So I think that's a good way of maybe getting around that problem. When Unreal Engine 5, which I believe they'd spent some extra time with Avowed working on the upgrade, like Unreal 5.1, they partnered with another studio, I forget who it was, but they partnered with someone, they'd upgraded Avowed, which again saw those graphical improvements. If they can continue to sort of leverage that tech, but perhaps not sacrifice then the performance side of things on console, maybe VRR is the answer. We'll see.
Yeah, do you, just quickly, do you think Microsoft should mandate this of their first party developers and say you have to have, because it feels as though Sony probably do that.
Yeah.
Is this one of these situations where Microsoft are too hands off, or do you think ultimately, because with Starfield it definitely was a narrative thing, because they confirmed it very close to launch, I think, that it was 30 amongst other things that got confirmed really close to launch that were disappointing about the game, and it does tend to colour the perception of it. Luckily we've got a bit of time now before Avowed comes out, so I think probably people will be over it by then. But with Starfield, I know generally it launched and everyone was like, 30.
Redfall, it dominated the narrative, didn't it? For right before the launch, it was like 2 weeks out. Yeah, I think also maybe this is actually more of a systemic problem within Microsoft, which is treating their own console like a second-class citizen. Is that they're sort of, Redfall, Starfield, Avowed, all had uncapped 60 frames per second options on PC, and they haven't optimized it for their own platform. And yet, post-launch, Redfield got a 60 frames per second mode. Starfield got a 60 frame. On Series S, you can play Starfield at 60 frames. So it's there.
And Indiana Jones is going to be the best console version is going to be on PS5, Pro, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, absurdly. So it just, yet again, just feels like they're sort of treating that sort of ecosystem like a sort of a less important aspect of what they're trying to do.
I don't want to go too far off topic, but I think
no, this is fine. System
it has been a
tangent.
It has been an issue for Microsoft that they were generally hated by PC gamers.
Yeah.
With the store being in such a state.
Yeah. The Xbox app being shit for a long time.
Yeah, the ports being bad.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of gone the other way, where if you're an Xbox gamer, the best place to play is definitely PC, 100%.
Without
Game
question.
Pass is cheaper, games are better.
Yeah.
There's no contest.
And you've got the cloud then on your PC that's probably wired in as well, so then you're getting the best version of that access. James coming into chat, they're just saying, I played 200 hours of Starfield. And my only current memory of it is the ship loading screen when traveling. Yeah, we're going to come to Star Wars Outlaws in a bit, where they've kind of... They don't have the seamless, like No Man's Sky, like the sort of seamless traveling to the planet, but they cover it very well. You pilot directly through the atmosphere, it then sort of slowly pans out to a cutscene and then
We were
docks.
talking last week is the way to do it.
Yeah, and it's Outlaws, I think, has done that well. Yeah, so I think a lot to consider here on the performance side of things, and it all relates obviously to Avowed, and we'll get into Star Wars now. I think we've naturally segued in there. So response so far has been really interesting. I've seen 8s out of 10s, and I've seen some 3s and 4s. I've seen it all over the place. I from what I've also seen some quite contradictory things as well, not just in the scoring, but places that have traditionally said, "Oh God, it's the previous it's a Ubisoft open world formula." They've apparently done a lot of things massive in this that aren't anywhere like the Ubisoft formula, and then people have moaned about that. I do feel like they had a bit of a catch-22. I think conceptually this is a fantastic idea for a game. It's the first time Star Wars has ever done some sort of like open world style RPG. Really? That's not Jedi related. I think that's why I was so excited about this too. The reviews have been very middling. To be honest, the reviews being polarized doesn't bother me. I think this looks fantastic, and I'm still going to get it. The one thing that is making me hold off for a launch purchase, though, is I've seen both Xbox and PlayStation reports that there are various progression game-breaking bugs. There was one,
yeah,
I think
that in an RPG.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. The Xbox version apparently was a version ahead of the PlayStation version. They both had their 3 days early access, which you had to pay £120 to get. And the PlayStation players, some of them have been emailed to say you need to start a new save because we've now brought a patch out to address these issues. If you don't do this, you will reach a point in the game which has some kind of like game-breaking bug. Nice. And that is a shit show. Like, that's not on Massive. You can't blame Massive for that. It's a bug, so they handle the bug side of things. But the way that the early access editions were publicized and they charged so much for them, that's on Ubisoft. So Massive can own their shit in terms of the bugs not being patched quick enough. But also, if you didn't have that early access mandate, that patch would have been live for day one. If it had just launched on day one, it would have been there on every platform.
That is the question of whether early access is just they just delay the release date by 3 days. Like day one is basically early access.
Yeah,
because we're seeing it with Xbox games a lot, where you can buy the game instead of getting it on Game Pass, and you get a few days early.
Indiana Jones, I think, has like a £35 upgrade for the Game Pass version, where you can get it like 3 days early, and
but Bethesda games frequently have completely game-breaking stuff, progression destroying bugs like this in. So it's a bit of an RPG issue, but from my perspective, it looked good. It never caught my attention. Something about it just looked, other than it being Star Wars, just looked a bit generic. One of my favorite games ever is Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
And it wasn't capturing those sorts of memories for me. But I think if you're a massive Star Wars fan, being able to play in an open world like that, even if there's a few drawbacks, it should seem like it's be a no-brainer for most people.
There's value in there, isn't there, for that, for sure.
And a lot of the controversy's been about the protagonist, which is just ridiculous controversy. Which I think we talked about in an earlier.
We did, and I remember it being sort of like the people saying that Aloy from Horizon wasn't attractive enough. It's those same sort of knuckle-dragging morons that don't understand what women look like. So it's just...
When it's Star Wars, it generally doesn't have those characters.
No, exactly. And if that's the reason you're playing a game, you're a loser. Like, that's not okay. Plugsocket mentioning that people have been falling through the floor on the map in Outlaws. Yeah, I saw a video of a guy complimenting it. It's a 20-second Twitch clip of a guy live on stream saying, actually, Ubisoft have done a great job here. It doesn't feel like Ghost Recon, doesn't feel like Assassin's Creed. It's got its own, and I'm through the floor. And you see the character just bomb it. Like Saints Row. I think we had a Saints Row glitch back in the day playing co-op, where you could start like parachuting underneath the city. That was in there, and and then you just see him just click off, which is great. So I think that, I'm very hesitant to get a game like this day one, particularly because of the pricing. I think I'm going to pick this up maybe towards the end of the year. But I'm certainly not dismissing it based on the mixed reviews. I actually think just on paper, it's exactly what I'd want from a Star Wars RPG, which is not a Jedi game, not lightsabers. Jedi Survivor's ticking that box, but it's still a very open, linear experience. I think having a true RPG where you get to go to multiple planets, I think is ticking the exact boxes for me. So, James from YouTube just saying, I don't know much about the Star Wars game. How does the progression compare to progression with skill ability trees like in the newer Assassin's Creed games? I actually really enjoyed that way of progressing. It's very similar. So you have obviously abilities you level up yourself, but also in a very sort of Mass Effect loyalty system kind of way, you have different factions, different sort of like outlaw factions within the different planets, and doing missions for one will piss off another. And it's something we've seen in games before, but actually there'll be their response, your notoriety, the way you're perceived is then affected by the choices you make. And that's happening across planets as well, because there's multiple different locations in this Star Wars game. So I think that's a really nice way of having that progression be meaningful. The one thing that really pissed me off, though, was that the Jabba the Hutt missions were stuck behind the season pass. They were stuck behind the £80 edition of the game. It was like a Jabba the Hutt mission. It wasn't a season pass. I think it was just like a mission included with some upgraded version of the game.
That.
It sucked, and they deliberately
content down at launch.
Yeah, they cherry picked that as well, knowing that people they'd have seen Jabba in the trailers and been like, oh yeah, this is great. He's the ultimate scoundrel that you want to hang out with. So that was shady. A lot of people have been saying though is to get around the sort of the higher cost is that Ubisoft Plus it's $14.99. And you get the Ultimate Edition with Ubisoft Plus. So you get the early access. So a lot of people saying, well, just complete it fast. Get it there, you get your early access, and obviously the game-breaking bug isn't solved by that. But in terms of the barrier of entry, Ubisoft are giving people choices. So that's me trying to find some kind of silver lining to a pretty shitty situation.
Would you get Ubisoft Plus for it? Or would you want, is there some sort of a limited collector's edition that you've got your eye on?
Yeah. No, not in this case. I think I would... I could see people being attracted to that, but I'm going to hold off. I'm going to wait for some patches, and I'm going to get it at a slightly discounted price later in the year. Maybe it might be my Christmas game, maybe. That'd be quite a nice one to play over the break. Plugs I got on Twitch saying, I saw that exact one too. It was funny, referencing the video from before. He said afterwards, I take it back, shit game. That was the quote from the end of that video. But yeah, I think so. It's critical response hasn't bothered me in the slightest. The game-breaking progression and the different versions, I think that's just poor planning from both Ubisoft and Massive. But there are ways round their slightly wonky business practices, and Ubisoft Plus giving you at least an option to access it.
I think the problem you have with Star Wars games is you can make a trailer for a Star Wars game that looks absolutely like it's sensational, as the first Outlaws trailer did. Because open world Star Wars game, you show all the cool bits, have the music over the top, the lasers make the right noise and stuff, and people just go crazy for it. And ultimately, it's pretty hard for a game to actually live up to that. So I think part of it is people are wanting something that's just going to be extremely hard for a studio to pull off. And Knights of the Old Republic did a pretty good job.
Yeah. The developer too has a real pedigree. Ubisoft Massive, they made the Avatar Pandora game that came out last Christmas, and also the Division games too. They have a long history of making big budget Ubisoft RPGs. That's their thing. So I think it made sense totally for them to be given the keys to this. It's how the hell you deliver that. Maybe it could have done with a few more months in the oven. We could have maybe seen this slip to 25. You've got Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out in November as well, I think, and that's another massive Ubisoft open world. So it's whether maybe there could have been some better release scheduling here. Plugs will get mentioning on Twitch, games should be sold complete, not with day one DLC being locked behind a paywall like a dangling carrot.
Yeah, I thought we were past that stuff.
So did I. And actually, the idea of some kind of Jabba the Hutt expansion being announced as like, oh, that's DLC in 2025, sure. Great, no issue with that at all. Because maybe you put that in a season pass, you discount it in a sale. People could buy it in like the Xbox often do the add-on sales, don't they, on their platform? So you pick it up in a sale. Like at that point, the DLC actually comes out next year. That would be a great way to handle that. I'd have no issue with that at all. James mentioning, I'm very excited about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Yeah, so am I actually. I think a few of my buddies are going to be checking that out because of the feudal Japan setting. Coming off the back of Ghost of Tsushima, which I'm still playing with Johnny Wilson, buddy of mine, and absolutely loving it. The multiplayer mode they added into that was really good.
Oh, yeah?
For free. It was a free Legends was the mode they added, and it was completely free. It was co-op, PvE, and PvP thrown in there as well. It was awesome. It was so good, and so far after launch, it was like 2 years later. So it wasn't like this wasn't ready. They just added it. It was just insane. So yeah, no, that's the Shadows is looking fantastic. Well, that will about wrap it up, I think, for our podcast segment of System Link this evening. Mike and I will be back shortly. We're going to be playing the finals. We are having a blast with that at the moment, actually. That's been we recently refreshed our classes offline, and hopefully we'll be bringing some of that to the stream. So stick around, folks, if you can. Plugs Like Legends was amazing. Grinded the 100% a while back. That was part of it. Yeah, nice. Yeah, we'll be back shortly with some action from the finals. See you in a minute. folks, we are back with some action from the finals. I'm just making sure that we're all operational and working correctly. Yep, looks good to me. Do let us know, by the way, in chat when we get to playing if the audio is in sync, because we have had some issues with that. Last week's System Link, when we were playing Valorant, the gameplay footage on my side was really wonky and the audio was out. It was fine on Monday's Burly Bird Live when I played The Last of Us Part 2's No Return mode, and also I did a quick offline test as well. But I would like to know if it's if it's still crapping out. So just let me know, please, once we get into the game. Mike and I are already partied up. Let me just switch back to my Xbox. Right, let's do this.
Nice.
That's where I have to adjust my volume again, as always.
Yeah.
This game is obscenely loud. It's encouraging me that we're still, getting relatively quick matchmaking times with this. They're all each played estimating under a minute, which I'm hopeful will long may that continue. Look, we're already found a game connecting now.
Yeah, I just hope they make. I mean, I don't think they've got any problems. They've got a few games in development, haven't they? But just because it's a great game, you want them to kind of get rewarded for that. It's hard to know how much money they're actually making out of this.
Yeah, of course. Well, Arc Raiders, I think, is coming, isn't it? They teased that at Gamescom. Yeah. But this Embark Studios, off the back of this game, has become like a Haze Light, a Remedy, IO Interactive. It's become one of those like studios where I will just follow a Focus Home. I'll follow whatever they're making because just off the quality of this game, just can't help but be totally on board with whatever Embark are cooking next if they can make something this solid. As their first game as well, it's crazy.
Yeah. Embark or Embark?
Embargo.
It's the all the Battlefield devs that does it for me.
Yeah, making a good Battlefield game, which is what this is. Is this where Bad Company 2 would have gone? Or Bad Company 3, rather?
I reckon they'll do it, especially if the next Battlefield game doesn't do well. Because EA can't keep pushing Battlefield forever. Because they haven't had a critically successful Battlefield game for a long time.
Exactly.
And I think Embark could do it once they've got into their stride with a few more games.
I know for sure. Imagine them outsourcing Battlefield to this studio.
Well, yeah, it's a blatant rip-off of it with two things.
One in that door there. One down. Bolt's cracked. A couple more oranges in the middle. The one with the vault box has gone out the back. Oh, he's gone up high. I'm on your 6. He's up on the roof. I have more gun than him. Heading for B. Ooh, don't drop off there. Oh shit, we're getting sniped. Ooh. God, I hear like shattering glass behind me as I've like jumped down and smashed my way through the roof. It's just so good. It's so satisfying. There we go, we're in. Got a guy with a bow on me. Oh. Now, I gotta tell you, the amount of trouble... Oh, shit. The amount of trouble we've had with lights. Oh, God! The amount of trouble we've had with lights, for you to come in with your new shotgun now is just...
He must have been on really low health. I was too far away there.
Yeah. Ah! Thermal bore underneath. Oh, God. This looks so good on the stream.
Get up high.
Yeah, I see him. Nice.
He had a red barrel, that's why I got him.
Oh, no. Was that what killed him?
Well, I RPG'd him.
Nice.
Chain reaction. Oh, we've got the-
Gonna block up double your Akuchi Moya with some goo grenade there as well. Oh! Partially. They've set fire to the one over here. Ah! Oh, bye!
Still there.
The stairs are fucked on this side. I'm gonna try and hold position in the rubble if I can.
Let me reinforce my barricade.
Yeah, nice. Putting some more goo downstairs.
No one's coming from above, that's where I'd be going.
Especially the amount of defense we put down. They might be struggling to get up there though because of the stairs are fucked. Wow. We nailed that. Plugs, look, I'm getting sleepy. It's late. I'm gonna dip. Peace. Appreciate that, buddy. Thank you for coming in and checking out the stream. Thanks, dude.
Good one. Oh, God, Dad.
Want it. Nice. Whoa. Yeah, nice.
Back in play.
It's the guy with the arrow, I think. Taking the pot shot. There he is.
Going up on the roof as well.
Yeah, I see. Oh, it's a turret. And a guy. He's landed on here. Ah.
A contestant is on a roll, people. They're moving from one elevation to the next.
Someone in that room.
Fart gas.
Oh, they've gone out the window. They're going to be around there.
Just double checking. Room's clear. They've got the box. Big man, the audio seems in sync. Yeah, if I just do a quick gunshot, that look and sound all good. 'Cause I think our voice was in sync last time. It was just the gameplay. Got it. Good recovery. Look at the team synergy right now.
Yeah, good.
We're cooking on the finals at the moment. This
I mean, I'd rather
refresh
get
is
the
really
restart
fast.
myself.
Yeah. Taking some pot shots from towards the box, but I'm on your 6. Oh, dead ahead. Aha. Piddler.
Terrible.
Pushing this guy, wherever he is. That's one down. Covering.
Squad.
Contestant is really cutting through the competition.
Oh, I haven't got my defibs. Orange behind the box. He's very low health. Oh, good flank. There's C4 on the box. Back up, I'll pop it. Okay.
See any idea?
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
Cheeky little chap in. He was hiding underneath the stairs.
Yeah.
Blocking up with some goo. Another light downstairs here, behind the barriers. 2 of them. I'm gonna go down. Ah, there's an orange in the background. They're taking it. Cheeky buggers. Oh,
That's
Great.
quite close. Closer than I thought I'd get.
go, great effort. Can't argue with that. Big Manny, thank you for that. Thank you for letting us know that the audio's all good. Much appreciated. All good. My New York accent came out.
And there's another vault available for our cash-hungry teams.
Another vault ready for the cash-hungry team.
I need one death for you and me. I thought I could come down. Being frugal with the deaths. Definitely going to die loads now.
Yeah, I know. Be ready for that. My bad.
Bow and arrow on me.
Got some heals for you. Got him. Ah, he's got a friend. I'm down.
There's a friend.
Oh, cheers. Oh, blow his biscuits off. Yeah. They've taken it up to D.
Cash out underway thanks to the
That's not Theo, no, I get the impression that you could have quite easily.
I could have, yeah. Because I definitely did, like, I did the assist damage. Can't get an eye on his health. There's at least one guy down there. I think there's a guy here that just uses... Yeah, there is. An archer at the back. He's nearly dead.
Breaks down.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Oh, I got surprised by the archer. There's a purple guy that's just dropped down near my corpse.
Yeah.
An orange guy is covering me right now. There's one pushing you, I think.
You won't want to miss a second.
Yeah, that'll learn him. Trying to spawn in. Ah, sorry. Didn't get you fast enough.
awesome steal by none other
I'll try and
than
engage at range if I can.
I don't know where our teammate was for that.
Steal down now, D.
If I can get a revive on you, I will. Oh, shit. Oh, I got outplayed. There's a guy coming behind me and there was a turret as well. Purples have just pinched that, so we're going to need to get stuck in.
Now that's how you play to win this game show.
Orange steel, ideally. Trying to get to you. Probably about 10 seconds out. Oh, I missed! Ah. Oh, that was tough.
Yeah. I thought it played quite well.
That was a good round still. Got to check the stats, of course. Very important that we have that going on.
Absolutely. Pretty even.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah. I'll put me back in, Chief, because I feel like we had some really good synergy in that last round.
Yeah.
You're an absolute demon with that shotgun. So that, just for anyone just jumping on, we've done some tweaks to our classes. That's where my goo grenades came from. I wanted something a bit more sort of defensive in my kit that wasn't just healing. Kept obviously my healing beam and the defib, but the goo grenade was the big change for me. Obviously you've bemoaned the state of those machine guns both machine guns really that the heavy class has. And switched out to a shotgun. How are you finding the shotgun so far?
Pretty good, yeah. It's got decent range on it actually, but you have the problem where if someone's running around you in circles, you just like miss every shot. It's pretty
Yes.
tough. The spread isn't actually that massive on it, so
It does require you to be very specific then. You're not...
yeah, which I'm not.
But generally with a weapon like that, you often you were relying on its spread, right? Because of, like you said, people getting quite zippy. So at least it's powerful enough that when you are on target, you get rewarded for that. That's good to see. You had a couple of really nice finishes in that.
Just for
shooting some
mopping
very-
up.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. It's definitely a mopper. You had a couple of really good like medium and light kills that were skedaddling. You got them in the
Yeah.
back, which was great. Good finishes there. God, this is such a cozy game. So reliable. I saw though, because you know I'd expressed some sort of public concern about the finals, and you know I just hope it doesn't become a Rumbleverse or even Knockout City, you know. But I saw just very casually one of the developers on Discord was just saying, "And we're working on season 4." So oh great,
Yeah.
okay, cool. We're not going to get some sort of rug pull moment anytime soon.
It does feel as though they've maybe taken some staff away from it and put it onto something else, which is
Yeah.
understandable given they've got so many games in development. The pace of the updates, not the seasonal updates, but the balancing and stuff seems to have slowed down.
Slowed a little bit. And like you said,
That's
to be
not necessarily a
expected.
bad thing.
Yeah, it's to be expected, and hopefully not an indication that it's winding down. I don't actually know what else they have cooking. Because I knew about Arc Raiders. Are they
yeah,
unannounced
there's
stuff? Is it?
Yeah, I
Like...
think there's an unannounced game as well.
Okay, cool,
At least one unannounced game.
nice. Oh, I love the movie so much.
Sealed by the Kingfish.
Right for you.
Well, yeah, I'm not. Oh, you're fine. You've made it over.
Just about.
But just I like melee that balcony, the barrier of that balcony, and it shattered, and I was able to jump over and grab onto the ledge of the other one. Oh, turret. I'll try and dead her in shape. Got it.
Nice.
The Kingfish.
They've got the box. Bolt.
There he is. He's low. Got him. Guys on the left.
Save me.
Healing beam's overheated. Oh shit!
Okay.
Oh yeah! Ah.
Fuck, I should have meleeed him.
The first team wipe is in.
Or don't you mean winged rocket? You did mean that. I'm telling you. Don't ever tell me what I mean.
The Retros are partying like it's 2029. They've started.
Retros are partying like it's in the future. Very good.
You get it.
Jet setters are re-engaging.
Did you get that? I watched our teammate start running down here and then divert himself to pick up a red barrel. You just have to.
Nice.
You see
Yeah.
them, you've got to be done.
Go for steal on B.
Oh, it's kicking off up there. Downstairs is cleared. Oh, it's one more here. Nice, someone's got you killed.
Oh, shot you in the head.
Well, just do your kill. Oh. Oh. There's someone upstairs, a heavy. He's down.
There's one behind up the stairs. In the camp spot, you see him.
Yeah,
Downstairs.
I see him. There's two of them. I'm not gonna make this. I'm not gonna mic this.
The jet setters
Go on,
What the hell? Leading cake. God damn.
I love that just while you're waiting for these things, enjoyable.
What's that, sorry?
Flying the camera around
Yes.
while you're waiting for the respawn.
Always. I do it to get intel.
Yeah.
Find out where they're held up.
now.
Oh. Someone shot the barrel in my hand. Right, two of them down. Pushing it. Oh. It's a friend. Jesus. Oh. Another one upstairs. Got him. Oh, it's Mine City up here. Yep, there you go. Appreciate it. That's a shame because we actually, I think we'd gotten through them there. Unnecessary.
taken the arena to new extremes.
Just make me want that.
I am so glad I was looking at you when you did that. Because you say that makes me want it, and then I wasn't paying attention. Would have fallen flat.
I thought you had turned away to me.
Gone through there. Guy on the roof. Middle.
Grenade launcher.
Yeah.
Behind me. On the
Yeah, I
wall.
see him.
By my-
Oh, I got one behind me as well. Oh,
Same one.
outplayed.
The jet setters will need to reboot. Team wiped.
Good team, that pink one.
Yeah. Stunning style. Winged rocker. Stunning dagger. Sounds like a Trump speech.
We've got the jet setters.
Everything's
returning
stunning
to
and
the
beautiful.
arena. Cash out in progress, thanks to the retros.
Steal cash out A.
Impressive steal by the Kingfish.
Wasn't looking at you, so can't prove it was you. Oh, why can't I climb it? Okay.
Go for a steal on A.
A contestant
You
is
maniac,
selecting
why?
eliminations one after another.
It's just goo.
Reloading.
Definitely, oh, there's one downstairs, one downstairs. He's got the grenade launcher, he's on half health. Through that wall.
Watch out. There.
Behind us as well.
Going upstairs.
One down. Ah!
Come on.
He's down. Turret's disabled down here as well.
Ah, that was so well played.
Need to get this. Box.
Yeah.
Our
I've got
teammates here
revive.
again.
Yeah. Guys upstairs. One down.
Like stealing a cash out from the base.
Guy upstairs.
Yeah. I'll disable that turret. Done.
Guy still up there.
Got him. Nearly got it. Upstairs. Eating cake. Yeah.
Needed that.
Cook
Oh,
him.
just grenaded him.
Just got richer.
And I'm dead.
I always find it funny how people come for revenge. Once you take the do the cash out, like
Yeah.
a minute afterwards, people still like throwing themselves. At
They're
the
still, yeah.
point where it was.
But they also come in from the same direction they died in. Like, they'd
Yeah.
come back on this roof to try and attack us. I can't get over this goo pile that you've stuck on this. Oh, it's gone now. That's so funny.
The retros are busy unwrapping Vault 3.
Guy over here.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Don't know if it is.
Enemy over there. Moving. Vault 3. Move.
One for our teammate. Red barrels
retros
going
got
off
the
down
cash
here.
box.
Going down there.
One to shut the box up here. Guys here. Oh, you outplayed me there. I was terrible then.
You're not the only one.
I've not seen people throwing the boxes like that. Good strategy. Not sure what our teammate was doing there. Having a tough
It's a
time.
blow to the jet setters. Team wiped.
Plug in my tap.
Kicked off a cash out.
Chat.
The jet setters just made their return.
Why are none of you doing anything? Just you and our teammate are just
Tension
not
is
doing
rising by
anything.
the
Oh,
minute.
sorry.
The excitement keeps building.
Well, I can't do anything now.
Hardly wait for what's in store.
What's he doing? Sorting his chat out.
Big Manny. By the way, I got officially accepted to the film course I applied for, and I start next week. Yes!
Ooh, amazing.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Oh, dude, I know that was the thing you've been looking for, so well done. Sorry, it's been data reshaped. It's busy down there. Gonna try and maybe go 2 sides here. Oh, there's an orange on me. I'm gonna die.
Under my own.
Yeah. God damn, that was terrible. Big Manny, I'm so excited. Oh, that's amazing, dude. Yeah, so is that for a September start? That's for pretty soon, I guess. Using the camera. Orange has just pinched it.
The jet setters are re-entering the
Which isn't ideal for us, really.
Far from obsolete, the retros steal a cash out.
Now as well.
They don't particularly have... They didn't have much defense down there, so if we can do a... I mean, it's going to be corpse on the pile. Oh, did our guy quit?
I don't get that. Oh! Nice.
Oh,
Probably
nice.
protect this.
Yep. Protecting it by shooting it. Nice. Orange coming in behind you. He's a heavy. He's got RPG by him.
Can't wait to see how this unfolds.
Oh, did you kill someone with that?
Yeah.
Nice. Mikey Elim.
I don't even know what happened, man. I think they set fire to each other.
That's great. Must resist urge to press A. Oh. Thanks, friendo.
I remember that. What do you remember that one? The guy took me for miles and kept dropping me
That's
and
right.
all sorts, and I left it so late.
Yeah, I know. You wanted him to have it, right? But
I couldn't resist it.
yeah,
Move out!
I don't blame you. Well, we've got Light Buck.
The Kingfisher trying
Jumped
to rule
in.
the waters.
Best part, no
Unlocking vault
exams,
four.
all practical filmmaking. Well, dude, that's a dream come true. That's exactly what you want. Seriously, man, well done. That's no small achievement. So, congrats.
Take vault 4!
Just goes to show that GCSEs are just the first step. There's all kinds of things you can do.
Kingfish suffered a loss.
They're not the be all and end all. Ah, guy on the roof.
Going up
The
there!
retros grabbed a
Watch
cash
out! Up
box.
there!
Got him. Oh, I've taken it behind. Ah, heavy on me. Oh, he's got a flame under him. There's no chance. Barely touched it. Oh, well done. He was pretty relentless there on you, so that's nicely done.
Getting you back!
Oh, dude. Big Manny, that's such a sweet message. Thank you so much. I would have played 2% of that journey for you. You still had to put in the work. So, whether that was through doing our productions or your actual GCSEs, you know, it was, I was a very, very small percentage of what ultimately was your effort. So well done. Someone back here.
Right here.
Taking fire from up the top as well.
Can't do any damage from this range. That's better. Thank you. Thank you for running towards me when I got a shotgun.
Yeah. It's that guy on the roof. Piddled him.
Guy coming in from me.
Yeah. There's 2 of them. I want to try and steal it while they're distracted. Got it. One in close. There's a pink behind this box. He's running off. He's just zip-lined up onto the opposite building.
Behind the cannon. Catch off the platform. Oh, God.
Ah! Going. Heavy's down. Arm down.
Ready to get death.
Yeah, nice. Nice. Had to be done.
Not gonna get it.
Yeah, that's a shame.
They've done a really good job of third partying and getting in with all three of them right at the end.
Yeah.
They've done it a couple of times.
And waiting to push the box till there wasn't much time left on it. Risky bid, because if their attack fails, they can't recover, but they've done well there. Oh. I'll accept your generous words there, but my point stands, man. You know, this was on you. It's just nice to know that I suppose you are grateful for those around you, so that's definitely positive for sure. Well, on that wholesome note, that's going to wrap us out for System Link tonight. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Another really lively chat for this evening's show. Getting obviously James in there on YouTube as well. That was really nice to see the multi-stream paying off. First time I think I've had anyone jump into the YouTube chat, which is really, really cool. So thanks everyone so much for tuning in. We'll be back on Monday with our next Burly Bird Live. There's a good chance that I might end up doing Last of Us again. I really enjoyed that. That was good fun. So that's definitely going to be on the slate for future streams. Whether it's next week or not, I'm not sure yet. But regardless, thanks everyone for tuning in. And thank you again, Mike, my ever-reliable co-host, for joining me this evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, everyone. We will see you next time.